Chapter 181. 2 days ago, I was planning to take our son out when suddenly 4 or 5 bandits burst in. Before I could even call for help, I was knocked unconscious. When I woke up, I was in a dimly lit underground chamber with only my son and me. They kept us locked up for 2 days. Apart from bringing us food and water, no one else entered the chamber. The bandits were cloaked in black robes, so their faces were obscured and they never spoke a word. Jingyu continued to cry and recount the events while Hongqing analyzed the situation in his mind. The bandits did not interrogate Jingyu for any information after capturing her and the child. This suggests they had planned everything in advance. The bandits knew about the relationship between Jingyu and Hongqing, as well as Hongqing's status as an elder of the Beastmaster sect. The kidnapping of Jingyu's child was clearly aimed at him. This filled Hongqing with guilt towards Jing. "You and the child, so how were you released?" Jingyu replied, "I'm not entirely sure of the details. I only remember that a bandit in black clothes entered the chamber, knocked me out, and when I woke up again, I was back in the courtyard. The child is still in their hands. Husband, please think of a way to rescue him." Hongqing mentally assessed the situation. From the time he handed over the spirit stones to Su Zheng until he returned home, it was only a little over a quarter of an hour. With a live person in their possession, the bandits should not have gone too far. This means the underground chamber is likely not very far away, probably still within the marketplace. However, finding an underground chamber in the marketplace would not be an easy task. Hongqing said, "A little over a quarter of an hour ago, I saw a bandit, but he was just a lowly thug with only third-layer chi refinement cultivation. He demanded 10,000 spirit stones from me before they released you." Jingyu suddenly became agitated, stopping her tears, and grasped Hongqing's hand. "Didn't you leave any marks or traces on this bandit, like a spiritual mark? We could have followed the mark to find the bandits." Hongqing shook his head. "I didn't leave any marks. They threatened to kill your child if I did. I really didn't dare to take that risk." Jingyu felt a surge of excitement upon hearing this. She and Su Zheng had already succeeded in a large part of their plan. Now, she only needed to delay Hongqing and buy time for Su Zheng to get away from the marketplace, then she could find a chance to leave. Jingyu cried again, her sobs full of despair. "What about our son? He's only 3 years old. Will those bandits mistreat him? What will he feel without seeing me?" Jingyu cried pitifully, portraying a concerned mother's anguish vividly. While Hongqing comforted Jingyu and helped her back to her room to rest, he contemplated how to rescue their child. When he laid Jingyu down on the bed and walked out of the room to seek help from a familiar acquaintance in the marketplace, he was unaware of what was happening inside the room. Under the covers, Jingyu was holding a communication jade slip. As Hongqing stepped out of the courtyard, he noticed a letter lying on the stone steps by the gate. The letter read, the writer identified themselves as not one of the bandits but someone who knew the full details of the situation. If Hongqing wanted to save the child, he should bring 15 silver horn grass and 10 bottles of beast refining pills to a Black Rock Mountain 300 miles west of the marketplace at midnight. They would then provide full information about the kidnapping. The letter also hinted that the whole affair was orchestrated by someone Hongqing knew. Shattering the letter into pieces, Hongqing hesitated. He initially planned to seek help from the marketplace enforcement team, where a Foundation establishment elder had some connections with him. He intended to ask this elder to help investigate the underground chambers in the marketplace. However, seeing the letter's claim that this was done by someone he knew made him uncertain. His affair with his secret lover was not something he could boast about, and keeping it secret was crucial. Thus, few people were aware of it. Among those who knew about this situation, there was the Foundation establishment elder from the marketplace enforcement team. Hongqing had once encountered this elder named Wang while he was out with Jingyu and their child. After some thought, Hongqing decided to proceed with his original plan. It seemed unbelievable that a late-stage Foundation establishment elder would be tempted by a mere 10,000 spirit stones to kidnap a weak mother and child. However, Hongqing had clearly overestimated his relationship with Elder Wang. When Hongqing met Elder Wang and expressed his intentions, he was told that investigating all the underground chambers in the marketplace was nearly impossible. The marketplace covered several dozen miles with countless courtyards and buildings. Many scattered cultivators had dug underground chambers to protect their secrets, making it nearly impossible to search them all. Moreover, deploying a large number of people to search the underground chambers would easily alert the bandits, who would likely move the child. Elder Wang advised Hongqing to investigate from other angles. Elder Wang's reasoning was somewhat valid, but Hongqing couldn't think of another solution at the moment. He shamelessly asked for some help to focus on investigating the underground chambers in the Eastern District, but Elder Wang coldly refused, citing the need to avoid acting rashly. Seeing Elder Wang's reluctance, Hung Chung had no choice but to give up on that approach. With no other options, Hung Chung had to place his hopes on the letter he had found. He was skeptical of the letter's content. Believing it was another ploy by the bandits to extract more spirit items, after careful consideration, he decided to meet with the letter's writer. That night, Hung Chung arrived at the Black Rock Mountain as described in the letter. The mountain was not high, only a few hundred meters, and it was bald and easy to identify. As soon as Hung Chung arrived, he saw a figure cloaked in black emerging from the base of the mountain. It was Songwon in disguise, the black-armored Gu, which had been monitoring the surroundings to ensure no other cultivators were hiding within a 10-mile radius, confirmed the area was clear before appearing to meet Hung Cheng. Seeing Songwen's attire, Hung Cheng immediately shouted, "Hiding your head and revealing your tail? It seems you and the bandits are in cahoots." It was understandable why Hung Cheng jumped to this conclusion. Songwen's outfit matched the description of the bandits Jingyu had fabricated. Songwen was taken aback, wondering how he had become a bandit. He quickly said, "Friend, don't misunderstand. I am not a bandit, and your child's kidnapping has nothing to do with bandits. Stop your deceit. You must be the Foundation establishment bandit leader that the person who contacted me mentioned." As soon as the words left Hung Cheng's mouth, he slapped his waist pouch and a large toad-like spirit beast emerged. The toad was over 7 feet long, with its limbs on the ground. Its back was covered in dozens of fist-sized growths, from which yellow poisonous smoke was continuously emerging. "Friend, you should think carefully. Once you take action, you won't be able to find out the child's whereabouts." You. Seeing Songwen using the child as leverage, Hung Cheng stopped his movements. "If what you said is true and you're not working with the bandits, how can you prove it?" "Why should I prove anything? This matter has nothing to do with me. What I can tell you now is that it wasn't done by bandits at all. It was orchestrated by your little concubine and her accomplices." As he spoke, Songwen's face showed a hint of mocking smile. "Nonsense." Perhaps Songwen's sarcastic tone pricked Hung Cheng's pride as a man, or perhaps his love for Jingyu wouldn't allow anyone to defame her. Hung Cheng's anger flared up suddenly. "Capture him. I don't believe you won't reveal the child's whereabouts." Hung Cheng's plan was to capture Songwen and use his life as leverage to find out where the child was as soon as the toad appeared. It stuck out a large, flesh-red tongue covered with numerous barbs, resembling a huge wolf's fang. The tongue seemed capable of extending indefinitely, shooting toward Songwen like an arrow released from a bow. End of the chapter. Perks of joining my Patreon. Comcentertal read RDC ahead. Currently up to daily updates of 2 chapters mass releases. 2 other stories to read, more coming in future. Support my Hardwick and show some appreciation. Become a paid member for as low as $1. Your support is my motivation, and please leave some reviews. It only takes a few minutes. Chapter 182. Songwen cursed inwardly, feeling unlucky. He had only intended to take the opportunity to acquire some silver horngrass and beast refining pills, but did not expect to end up in a life and death struggle with a Foundation establishment elder from the Beastmaster sect so close to the marketplace. However, since the opponent had already made a move, he couldn't just sit and wait for death. A ball of water the size of a fist suddenly appeared in front of Songwen. It was the Kuei in heavy water he had obtained from Li Jiangu. In an instant, the Kuei in heavy water transformed into a transparent water shield, blocking the frog's tongue attack. The frog's tongue collided with the water shield with a tremendous impact, sending Songwen and the shield flying. Demon Cultivator. Hung Cheng's eyes narrowed as Songwen activated the water shield. Hung Cheng keenly detected a demonic aura emanating from him, confirming that Songwen was indeed a demon cultivator. Hung Cheng became even angrier. It was infuriating that a demon cultivator, suppressed by the righteous powers and hiding in dark corners, would dare to appear so close to the Beastmaster sect and even attack the child of a respected elder. It was essentially seeking death with a thought. A flying sword appeared in front of Hung Cheng. He quickly performed several sword seals, causing the flying sword to shine with a cold light, ready to strike at Songwen at that moment. A sharp sound of something breaking through the air came from the left. Hung Cheng hurriedly adjusted the flying sword to block the attack from the left, intercepting a cold gleam, which was the cold moon blade. Just after blocking the cold moon blade, Hung Cheng sensed a small Gu quickly approaching from behind. The Gu surprisingly had the strength of a second-tier early-stage demon beast. Hung Cheng summoned a yellow flag, which expanded in the wind to a size of about 10 feet, protecting his back, while he was distracted by defending against the sacred Gu. He suddenly saw a flash of blood in front of him. The figure in black suddenly enveloped itself in blood mist, increasing its speed drastically to dodge the frog's tongue and quickly approached with a flying sword, trying to fight at close quarters, seeking death. The frog below suddenly opened its poison sacs, spraying a large amount of yellow toxic gas, covering an area of 100 meters around it. Song 1, who was flying towards Hung Cheng, was also enveloped in the toxic cloud. Although this frog spirit beast raised by Hung Cheng only had the strength of a second-tier early stage, its toxic smoke was enough to deter even mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivators. Just a slight inhalation of the toxic smoke would cause unbearable pain, as if the internal organs were being cut and chopped. For weaker cultivators, it could turn them into a puddle of yellow water, while stronger ones would suffer severe damage from the pain. To Hung Cheng's surprise, Song Wen seemed unaffected by the toxic smoke, showing no signs of discomfort. Song Wen had practiced the 10,000 poisons body and had ingested a large amount of highly toxic substances. The frog's toxic smoke could not harm him. In a short time, Song Wen closed in on Hung Cheng, his hands glowing with a cold light, like eagle claws, ready to strike. Hung Cheng's flying sword cut through the night sky, aiming at Song Wen's claws. Even though Song Wen had trained his ghostly claws to perfection, he did not dare to barehandedly block the flying sword of a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. The water shield blocked the claws before they could make contact, stopping the flying sword. At that moment, the cold moon blade shot in from the right. Hung Cheng had no effective countermeasures. The 10-foot-long yellow flag was still entangled with the Foundation establishment goo behind him. The frog's extended tongue had several feet of distance left but could not intercept the cold moon blade, which was already heading towards his right side. Pff. The cold moon blade pierced through Hung Cheng's right side and exited through the left, leaving a fist-sized blood hole across his waist. It also shredded most of Hung Cheng's intestines and stomach, and the blade's sharp energy severed several of his vital meridians. Hung Cheng's breath immediately became weak and his body fell from mid-air. The frog spirit beast, showing its loyalty, wrapped its tongue around the severely injured Hung Cheng, preventing further injury from the fall. Just as Song Wen was about to finish off Hung Cheng, a graceful figure flew in from the sky, shouting loudly, "Friend, please show mercy." The newcomer was a woman in her 30s, exuding a mature demeanor. She was Rong Jingyun, Hung Cheng's original wife, an elder in the Beastmaster's sex alchemy room and a late Foundation establishment cultivator. Several months earlier, Rong Jingyun had discovered that Hung Cheng was keeping a concubine. She had initially chosen not to expose him, thinking that it was just a fleeting affair and that Hung Cheng would eventually return to her. However, as time went on, Hung Cheng continued to visit the brothel regularly, staying away for 2 or 3 days at a time. Feeling betrayed, Rong Jingyun decided to catch him in the act. She pretended to be busy with alchemy to create opportunities for Hung Cheng to meet his concubine. While secretly tracking his movements, when Rong Jingyun arrived, she saw the attack on Hung Cheng and immediately intervened. Her arrival made Song Wen cautious and wary. Rong Jingyun explained loudly, "Hung Cheng is my husband. I only wish to save him and do not want to be your enemy." She continued, "However, if you insist on killing my husband, I will fight you to the end." As she spoke, Rong Jingyun approached Hung Cheng, who was on the brink of death. Song Wen's thoughts shifted and he summoned a silver corpse puppet that had a faint silver glow. The puppet's aura was contained to avoid drawing the attention of powerful Beastmaster sect cultivators stationed nearby. Seeing the silver corpse, Rong Jingyun grew even more anxious but remained composed. "Friend, do not act rashly. With your fake third-tier silver corpse, I am no match for you." She then raised her right hand, holding a white jade slip. This jade slip is a summons from the Beastmaster sect. It was awarded to me when I developed a new beast pill. If I activate it, all Beastmaster sect disciples within a few hundred miles will receive an urgent summons and be compelled to assist. Failure to comply would result in being branded as a traitor. Song Wen observed the white jade slip and could not immediately verify its authenticity. However, he had no desire for a deadly confrontation. His goal was only to obtain the silver horn grass and beast refining pills. He slowly retreated and said, "I had no intention of fighting your husband. It was he who sought his own demise. I can let you save him and allow you both to leave, but I require the silver horn grass and beast refining pills, along with some additional compensation. Also, you must swear not to reveal my presence." Rong Jingyun immediately agreed. "I will comply with your terms, but may I first attend to my husband? He is in critical condition." At this point, Song Wen had already retreated to a distance of 100 meters and nodded, "You may." Rong Jingyun, feeling grateful, did not fear an ambush and rushed to Hung Cheng. Hong Cheng was severely injured, losing a lot of blood and with extensive internal damage, nearly at the point of death, seeing his wife come to his aid despite the danger. Hong Cheng felt deep remorse. Rong Jingyun landed in front of Hong Cheng, placing her left hand over the blood wound on his waist. Channeling spiritual power to seal the wound and prevent further blood loss, she took out a golden pill and placed it in Hong Cheng's mouth, allowing it to dissolve with her spiritual energy. The pill seemed to be a miraculous medicine, and Hong Cheng's condition visibly improved as soon as he swallowed it, in less than the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn. The pill pulled Hong Cheng back from the brink of death, although still weak. His life was no longer in immediate danger. TL. What a shit show. End of the chapter. Perks of joining my Patreon. Patreon.com. TL. Read RDC ahead. Currently up to daily updates of 2 chapters, mass releases, 2 other stories to read, more coming in future. Support my hard work and show some appreciation. Become a paid member for as low as $1. Your support is my motivation, and please leave some reviews. It only takes a few minutes. Chapter 183. Friend, please wait. Looking at Hong Cheng's gradually stabilizing condition, Rong Jingyun sighed in relief. Her eyes filled with tenderness as she looked at her husband. She spoke softly. "Husband, how are you feeling?" Hong Cheng responded in a somewhat halting manner. I'm fine, thank you, Jingyun." Rong Jingyun smiled gently. "We are husband and wife. There is no need for thanks." Hong Cheng lowered his head in guilt. "But I'm sorry for what I did outside." Rong Jingyun interrupted him. "We will discuss this later. For now, let's resolve the current issue." She stood up and cupped her fists in gratitude towards Song Wen. "Thank you, friend, for allowing me to treat my husband." Song Wen replied with a peculiar laugh. "Hee. I dare not accept your thanks. It was your husband whom I injured. You should not waste time. Please fulfill your promise quickly." "Understood." Rong Jingyun's thoughts moved, and 2 wooden boxes and a jade bottle appeared in front of her. "Here are 10 silver horn grasses and 60 beast refining pills." With a wave of her hand, the wooden boxes and jade bottle flew towards Song Wen. Song Wen inspected the wooden boxes and jade bottle with his spiritual sense, confirmed their authenticity, and then stored them in his storage ring. "This is not enough. Our agreement was for 10 silver horn grasses and 100 beast refining pills in exchange for the child's whereabouts." Rong Jingyun turned to look at Hong Cheng lying on the toad's back. He nodded and looked at his storage ring. However, Hong Cheng was too weak to open his storage ring. Rong Jingyun moved closer to Hong Cheng, infused her spiritual power into him to help him open the storage ring. A wooden box and 2 jade bottles appeared on the ground. Rong Jingyun used her spiritual power to push the wooden box and jade bottles towards Song Wen. "Between us, this is all the silver horn grass and beast refining pills we have." Song Wen took the wooden box and jade bottles, scanned them with his spiritual sense, and found that the 10 silver horn grasses were sufficient. However, there were only 70 beast refining pills in the 2 jade bottles. Song Wen was not greedy. 80 beast refining pills were already enough for a long time. He put away the herbs and pills and said, "It's time for you to make the soul oath." As per Song Wen's request, Rong Jingyun and Hong Cheng each made a soul oath. If they revealed Song Wen's existence, their souls would be shattered, and they would never be able to transcend. Song Wen nodded and turned to leave. "Wait a moment." Rong Jingyun suddenly spoke, stopping Song Wen. "Friend, you have taken the benefits, and we have made the soul oath, but you have not told us where the child is." Hong Cheng looked at his wife in surprise, not expecting her to ask about the child's whereabouts, which deepened his guilt. Song Wen stopped and turned to Rong Jingyun. "But the quantity of the pills you provided is insufficient. What you have given can only be considered as your husband's ransom. The child's whereabouts require a different price." Rong Jingyun said, "We can offer spirit stones as compensation." Song Wen shook his head. "I don't need spirit stones." "Then what does the friend want?" "I am an elder in the Beastmaster Sect's alchemy room, and I have some resources. If you tell me what you want, I will do my best to satisfy your request as long as it is within my capability." Song Wen stared at Rong Jingyun, his mind racing, and did not immediately respond. Making a grand demand for all of her assets would be unrealistic. He could only ask for what they urgently needed. Hong Cheng gazed at his wife. Feeling that he had wronged her far too much, he should not have kept a concubine outside. After a moment, Song Wen finally spoke. I want your alchemical insights, is that possible? Rong Jingjun smiled faintly. I didn't expect you to be a fellow practitioner. If you want my alchemical insights, you can have them. As she spoke, Rong Jingyun threw a jade slip to Songwon. Songwon took the jade slip and probed it with his spiritual sense. It recorded no less than 100 alchemical formulas and insights. He could not immediately determine the accuracy of these formulas and insights but glanced over the blood medicine formulas and insights. At first glance, he found no apparent issues. Satisfied, Songwon stored the jade slip. Its value outside would be at least 100,000 spirit stones at this moment. He couldn't help but admire this woman. To casually give away such a valuable jade slip was impressive. For the sake of saving her husband and the child of the concubine, Rong Jingjun could be so generous. It was truly worthy of respect. However, for Rong Jingyun, giving out this jade slip did not incur much loss. If there was any loss, it would be to the Beastmaster sect, as half of the formulas in the jade slip were unique to them. After putting away the jade slip, Songwon kept his word and revealed the location of Jingyu and Su Zheng. Hung Chung became agitated upon hearing this, shouting, "This is impossible, you must be making it up." Songwon mocked with a smile, "I have no grudge against you, so why would I lie? If you don't believe me, go to the cliff located 130 miles west of the Huafeng market. There is a cave at the bottom of the cliff, and the child is in that cave. Su Jing only has the cultivation of qi refining 3rd level and cannot use flight techniques. The child was personally bound and thrown into the cave by his mother. That poor child has not had a drop of water for 2 days. If you don't hurry, he might die of starvation in the cave." After speaking, Songwon ignored their reactions and vanished into the darkness, leaving no trace. After confirming with his spiritual sense that Songwon had truly left, Rong Jingyun let out a sigh of relief. She waved her right hand, and a small flying ship, about 7 to 8 meters long, appeared in midair. "Let's go, we need to save that child." Rong Jingyun used her spiritual power to lift Hung Cheng onto the flying ship, and they ascended into the air. Hung Cheng took some healing pills and sat cross-legged, while Rong Jingyun, standing behind him, used her spiritual power to assist in refining the medicine. "Jingyun, I am sorry for what I did. I shouldn't have kept a concubine," Hung Cheng said, filled with guilt. Rong Jingyun replied, "Husband, let the past be the past. We should support and rely on each other in the future and cherish each other. On this long path of cultivation, it is only between us that we can truly open our hearts. If we are to doubt and deceive each other, this path of cultivation will be too lonely. If that's the case, immortality is not worth pursuing." Hung Cheng nodded heavily and said, "Jingyun, after this, I will be devoted to you and we will stay together. But what about the child? The child is innocent." Rong Jingyun was silent for a long time before finally sighing deeply. "Let's bring the child back to the sect. I will treat him as my own. He is still young and doesn't understand the situation. When he grows up, he will probably forget this incident and see me as his real mother." As she spoke, Rong Jingyun's tone was not entirely certain, carrying a hint of hesitation. Hung Cheng, upon hearing this, appeared somewhat excited. "Thank you, Jingyun." End of the chapter. Perks of joining my Patreon, patreon.com/TL. Read RDC ahead. Currently up to daily updates of 2 chapters, mass releases, 2 other stories to read, more coming in future. Support my hard work and show some appreciation. Become a paid member for as low as $1. Your support is my motivation. And please leave some reviews, it only takes a few minutes. Chapter 184. Hung Cheng and Rong Jingyun found the little boy in the cave as described by Songwon. The boy, suffering from hunger and severe dehydration and bound by ropes, had already fainted. If no one came to rescue him, he might not survive until the next day. Seeing the critically ill boy, Hung Cheng's eyes were filled with fury and murderous intent. Even Rong Jingjun had a face full of anger. Cultivators generally have a detached attitude towards life, and they often disregard the lives of unrelated people. However, they usually do not torture ordinary people without cause. Even demonic cultivators who kill ordinary people for practice generally do so quickly to spare them pain. Some ghostly cultivators might torture ordinary people to extract resentment, but that's another story. To see the boy tied up and abandoned by his own biological mother was even more infuriating. "I will make that despicable Jingyu's corpse be torn into 1,000 pieces, Hung Cheng said through gritted teeth. Upon seeing the condition of his son, Hung Cheng fully believed Song Wen's words. Rong Jingyun took out a pill and put it into an empty jade bottle, then added some clean water to dissolve it. She fed the boy a couple of sips and his complexion visibly improved. "Let's go, we need to find those 2 scoundrels in the Huafeng market." As she finished speaking, the flying ship shot up into the sky. When they arrived at Courtyard 87, it was already empty, and Jingyu had long since disappeared. Running? Can she escape? Rong Jingyun directed the flying ship to the Huafeng Market's law enforcement team and once again found Elder Wang. Sorry, you too. The law enforcement team is established to maintain the peace of East Huafeng Market, not for private matters of individuals. We cannot use it for your personal affairs. Elder Wang directly refused them. You. Hung Qing glared angrily. Elder Wang, disregarding the camaraderie, remained indifferent, which made Hung Qing even more furious. Rong Jingyun, however, maintained a calm demeanor. She took out the summons jade slip and presented it to Elder Wang. May I ask if the summons jade slip can mobilize the law enforcement team? Elder Wang's face changed as he looked at the jade slip. The situation had turned against him rapidly. He clasped his hands and bowed slightly. Greetings, Town Hall Elder. The rank of elders is hierarchical. Elder Wang was just a regular elder within the Beastmaster sect, while Rong Jingyun held the highest rank as the Town Hall Elder with the summons jade slip. I will mobilize the law enforcement team immediately and fully cooperate with you. East Huafeng Market often had cases of murder. Although most were unresolved, there were still some tracking experts within the law enforcement team. With Jingyu's portrait, they quickly traced it to the inn where Su Zheng was staying, although Su Zheng had already left. They obtained his portrait from the innkeeper. With the portraits of the two, they mobilized the various factions in the market. In less than half an hour, they located their whereabouts. By evening, Jingyu and Su Zheng had purchased a flying boat from a magical artifact shop and left the market's northern side. The law enforcement team deployed several disciples and, after several hours of pursuit, captured the two who had fled several dozen miles away. By dawn, however, only Su Zheng was brought back alive. Jingyu had already turned into a cold corpse. Her eyes were bulging as if she had experienced something unbelievable before her death. Still unable to rest in peace, seeing Jingyu's soul already dissipated, Hung Qing felt it was too lenient for her to die like this. He was deeply unsatisfied. Hung Qing's rage seemed almost palpable, causing Su Zheng, who was kneeling nearby, to tremble in fear. He suddenly realized, perhaps by killing Jingyu midway, he had actually helped her. Now he would face Hung Qing's endless wrath alone, unable to plead for mercy or die, and would suffer unimaginable torment. At the ugly hour, Songwon arrived at the market and, under the cover of night, sneaked into Courtyard 36 next door. In the underground secret chamber, Songwon summoned a female black-armored gu and began feeding it silver-horned grass. He started studying Rong Jingyun's alchemy notes. Songwon only knew how to make blood chi pills. Other pills were bought from elsewhere, so his understanding of alchemy was quite limited. With Rong Jingyun's alchemy insights, he could greatly enhance his understanding of pill making, facilitating his development of new blood chi pills. Upon seeing the method for making beast refining pills, he had new thoughts. Although he had acquired quite a few beast refining pills recently, they would eventually run out. If he could make them himself, it would ensure the future growth of his sacred gu. However, with Songwen's current alchemy skills, making a 5th-grade beast refining pill was beyond his capability. After carefully studying the alchemy notes several times, Songwon understood that the ingredients in each pill recipe could generally be classified into 4 categories. Monarch medicine, the main ingredient, essential and irreplaceable in the recipe. Minister medicine supplements the monarch medicine, enhancing the efficacy of the pill. Assistant medicine assists in harmonizing the properties of the various ingredients and aids in pill refinement. Envoy medicine activates the pill, promoting the full manifestation of its properties. Songwon pondered over the blood chi pill recipe, categorizing each ingredient into these 4 classes to help him refine the formula and produce a more potent blood chi pill based on his previous experimental experiences. Songwon prepared different control groups, refining pills while recording the results. He compared the final outcomes to identify the optimal formula. His idea for improving the formula was to increase the dosage of the monarch medicine, red blood essence, to enhance the pill's efficacy, while experimenting with different ratios of the other ingredients to achieve the best result. After more than 10 days of tireless experimentation, Songwon finally succeeded in producing 3 new blood chi pills. These 3 pills were still blood red but significantly larger. Common pills are typically the size of a pinky, but these 3 were as large as a thumb, at least 3 to 4 times bigger in volume. Looking at the pills in his hand, Songwon hesitated. From their appearance and smell, there seemed to be no apparent issues. However, Recalling the tragic outcomes of Ji In and others who consumed the blood chi pills, Songwon was reluctant to use them without further testing. Perhaps I should follow Ji Yin's example and find someone to test the pills. Songwon put the pills away and left the courtyard. Without wasting time in the market, he headed outside. Once outside, he found an uninhabited area and traveled further east into the mountains. The area was full of demonic beasts. A common hunting ground for wandering cultivators, Songwon planned to test the pills on a demonic beast. After walking a short distance into the mountains, he spotted a small fox-like demonic beast. The fox was crimson, with the strength of a 7th-layer chi. Refining stage cultivator, and was currently devouring a wild boar demonic beast it had just captured. Songwon's sudden appearance startled the fox. It did not flee or attack immediately but snarled fiercely. Glaring at Songwon with a menacing expression, TL note, 1. The ugly hour typically refers to the time during the early morning, usually between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. when many people experience heightened feelings of anxiety, sadness, or restlessness. It's often characterized by a sense of loneliness and introspection, leading to a lot of negative thoughts or worries. This phenomenon can happen when the world is quiet and people find themselves awake, reflecting on their lives or problems. End of the chapter. Perks of joining my Patreon, patreon.com/TL, read RDC ahead. Currently up to daily updates of 2 chapters, mass releases, 2 other stories to read, more coming in future. Support my hard work and show some appreciation. Become a paid member for as low as $1. Your support is my motivation. And please leave some reviews, it only takes a few minutes. Chapter 185. In the demonic fox's perception, Songwon, who only revealed the aura of longevity technique, didn't seem very powerful. However, the fox didn't attack Songwon recklessly. Instead, it dragged the wild boar beast's corpse and slowly retreated into the surrounding shrubs. The mountain was frequently visited by humans, and the fox, possessing high intelligence, knew that these humans were not to be trifled with. They had various strange treasures and methods, and one could easily fall into a cunning human's trap. With a flash of movement, Songwon did not use his spiritual power but relied solely on his physical strength to grab the fox demon by the neck with one hand. The fox struggled vigorously in Songwon's grip, but his strength was too great for it to escape. Songwon took out a newly refined blood chi pill, forcibly opened the fox's mouth, and shoved the pill inside. After confirming that the fox had swallowed the pill, Songwon released it as soon as the fox landed. It bolted into the grass and quickly fled. After running a few dozen meters, the fox suddenly collapsed, its limbs convulsing uncontrollably, its body rapidly withering as if something was devouring its internal organs and flesh. Soon, the fox's body shrank by nearly half, becoming gaunt and skeletal, with bones clearly visible beneath its fur. At this moment, the fox's body suddenly began to swell as if someone was forcefully inflating it. Bang! A muffled explosion. After reaching its swelling limit, the fox's body exploded, scattering into countless pieces of flesh. Looking at the blood and meat scattered on the ground, Songwon's lips twitched. He was unsure whether the problem lay with the pill or if human pills were simply unsuitable for demonic beasts. It seems I'll need to test the pill on a human. Sometimes events occur with uncanny timing. 2 rogue cultivators, both with fierce expressions, were approaching his location, now less than 2 yards away from Songwon. Songwon's lips curled into a cold smile as he stood still, waiting for the prey to come to him. Moments later, 2 bandits, one from each side, suddenly leaped out from the trees. One of them formed a spell gesture, conjuring 3 7-foot-long water spears that shot towards Songwon's face with lightning speed. Water-based spell, water spear thrust. The other raised a hand, summoning a mid-grade flying sword that flew from behind, aiming straight for Songwon's back. The 2 bandits, without saying a word, struck mercilessly. Songwon's lips curled into a strange smile. It was as if his drowsiness had been met with a pillow. These were truly kind people who brought him exactly what he needed. The previously fierce expressions of the 2 bandits instantly turned to terror. Songwon's figure transformed into a blur, abruptly disappearing from their view. Bang, bang. 2 muffled thuds. The 2 bandits were knocked to the ground, unable to rise. Seeing Songwon's smiling face and looking down from above, the bandits realized they had encountered a formidable senior, yet Songwon did not kill them directly, giving them a glimmer of hope for survival. Senior, we were blind and offended you. Please forgive us this time. Senior, we are also being oppressed by the Beastmaster sect and have no choice but to resort to these desperate measures. Please consider this our first offense and forgive us. Seeing the 2 bandits repeatedly bowing and pleading, Songwon spoke, I can consider sparing you. I have 2 pills here, 1 for each of you. Take the pills and you may leave. I will pretend that what happened just now never occurred. As he spoke, 2 pills floated in front of the bandits. Looking at the obviously unusual blood chi pills, the bandits couldn't help but feel apprehensive. This pill clearly wasn't an ordinary medicine. They were unsure of the consequences of taking it. As the bandits hesitated, Song Wen's cold voice rang out, "Don't worry, this is a cultivation-enhancing elixir I refined myself. Although it's my first time making it, there shouldn't be any major issues. Take this pill and you might have a slim chance of survival. If you refuse, I can only send you on your way now." "I'll take it." The bandit on the left kneeled, grabbed the pill, and swallowed it. Seeing his companion take the pill, the other bandit also took one. As soon as the pill entered their stomachs, both felt intense abdominal pain and rapid depletion of their vital energy. They couldn't help but curse inwardly. This wasn't a cultivation-enhancing pill at all, but clearly a poison meant to kill. Soon, they felt an immense spiritual power emerging from their abdomens, this power crashing through their meridians as if it intended to break them. Hold your breath, focus, and sit cross-legged to refine the spiritual power. You still have a slim chance of survival. Song Wen's voice echoed in their ears. Without much hesitation, the bandits followed his instructions. However, the pill consumed their vital energy too quickly, causing their chi and blood to rapidly weaken. Bang! One of them could no longer hold on and collapsed, lifeless. The vitality of this person was nearly depleted, leaving him as dried out as a corpse drained of blood by Song Wen. Seeing his companion die, the other bandit's eyes filled with despair. With his remaining vital energy dwindling and the severe pain in his abdomen and meridians, he had no hope of survival. "Hang on!" Song Wen suddenly shouted, trying to pull him out of his despair, but it was in vain. The bandit only managed to hold on for a few more breaths than his companion before collapsing as well. Looking at the 2 corpses, Song Wen coldly said, "Useless." He devoured their souls, took their storage bags, burned their bodies, and then returned to the market. The 2 bandits had both been at the 7th level of chi cultivation after taking the pill. They had died within less than the time it took to burn an incense stick. Their deaths were due to severe depletion of their vital energy. This indicated that ordinary chi cultivation practitioners had a hard time withstanding the potency of such pills. However, Song Wen did gain some useful information. The 2 did not show any signs of poisoning, so the pill was not toxic. Perhaps next time, I can test it myself. Song Wen returned home and continued refining pills. With the experience from before, this batch yielded 5 pills. After examining the pills in his hand for a long while, Song Wen finally took one. The immense medicinal power erupted within him, rapidly consuming his blood chi and producing a massive amount of spiritual power. While the previous 2 bandits had experienced severe abdominal pain, Song Wen felt nothing of the sort. The amount of vital energy consumed by the pill was negligible. For him, Song Wen focused his mind, operating the longevity technique to absorb and refine the spiritual power triggered by the pill. Pop! It felt like something inside him had suddenly burst open, making a faint sound. This was the longevity technique breaking through the 5th level of chi cultivation, advancing to the 6th level with the medicinal power of the pill still not depleted. Song Wen continued to sit in meditation and refinement. After an hour, Song Wen concluded his practice with a pleased expression. The enhanced blood chi pill had been successfully refined, and its potency was more than 10 times stronger than the previous version. Song Wen did not stop, continuing to consume pills and refine them. As he finished refining all 5 pills, a knocking sound came from outside the door. End of the chapter. Perks of joining my Patreon, patreon.com/TL. Read RDC ahead, currently up to daily updates of 2 chapters, mass releases, 2 other stories to read, more coming in future. Support my hard work and show some appreciation. Become a paid member for as low as $1. Your support is my motivation, and please leave some reviews. It only takes a few minutes. Chapter 186. Opening the courtyard door, Song Wen saw that it was the old man Ai Kuan who had come to visit. It had been a while since Song Wen had seen Ai Kuan, and today, he noticed that Ai Kuan looked much more haggard, as if he had aged 10 years in a short time. "It's only been a month since we last met. How have you aged so much?" Ai Kuan walked into the courtyard and sighed deeply. "Recently, I've been frequenting the Hwansec's Heavenly Spring courtyard a bit too often. Please take it easy, elder. This old man has only this little hobby. If even this is taken away, what's the difference between living and dying?" Ai Kuan's gaze suddenly fell on Song Wen, and he looked surprised. "Have you broken through to the 6th level of chi cultivation?" Hearing this, Song Wen realized he had forgotten to conceal his cultivation level after his recent breakthrough. Noticing that AI Kuan had seen through it, Songwon did not hide it anymore and nodded in acknowledgement. Yes, I just broke through recently. I remember when you first came to the market, you were only at the 4th level of Qi cultivation. It hasn't been long, yet you've already reached the 6th level. Why is your cultivation progressing so quickly? Songwon explained. When I first came to the market, I was already at the peak of the 4th level of Qi cultivation. So it's just a matter of moving up a level and a bit more. AI Kuan's tone was envious. Could it be that you're just accumulating a lot of energy and making rapid progress? Perhaps I should cut back on my visits to the brothels. Maybe I'd have a chance to break through to the late stage of Qi cultivation. After chatting for a while, AI Kuan left shortly after AI Kuan's departure. Songwon also went out of the courtyard. He strolled around the market. Then in a secluded area, he disguised himself as he did when he rented the adjacent small courtyard and entered courtyard No. 36. Once inside the courtyard, Songwon went directly to the underground secret room. During the chat with AI Kuan, he had sensed a change in the goo parasites inside him. The 5th sacred goo, which he had been feeding with silver-horned grass, had spun a cocoon a dozen days ago. At this moment, there were signs of it breaking out of the cocoon. He took out the cocoon and placed it in the goo cauldron. After an hour, a new goo emerged, having broken through the cocoon. With the experience from the previous sacred goo, Songwon took out a beast refining pill and fed it to the new goo. Songwon then took out a bottle of essence blood and slowly fed it to the sacred goo. After another half-month, the newly emerged sacred goo had stabilized its cultivation level. Songwon began preparations to let the 2 sacred goo mate and breed the next generation. However, things did not go as smoothly as Songwon had hoped. Although the 2 sacred goo mated successfully, the female goo showed no signs of fertilization or egg-laying. Songwon did not give up easily. After 3 months of attempts, the female sacred goo finally started to produce eggs. A month later, the eggs were successfully laid. But there was only 1 egg. Another half-month later, the egg successfully hatched. A new sacred goo was born. Thus, after 2 months, Songwon had successfully raised 6 sacred goo. All other first-tier goo, except for the 2 normal beetle goo, had become unnecessary and were fed to the sacred goo TL. I'm not sure if the author meant sacred goo or black armored goo. I think it should be sacred goo, so I changed it from black armored goo to sacred goo. The 2 first-tier beetle goo were kept mainly because their strength was weak and their aura was minimal. They were less likely to be noticed as ordinary goo, and were kept for emergencies. Raising the 2 first-tier goo larvae required a minimal amount of spirit stones, which was negligible for Songwon. During these 2 months, Songwon continuously took the new blood Qi pills. His cultivation in the longevity technique had made remarkable progress, reaching the 9th level of Qi cultivation, and he was not far from reaching full Qi cultivation. He had 1 foundation establishment pill and 4 heavenly spirit fruits. Once he reached full Qi cultivation, he could advance to the foundation establishment stage and cultivate the longevity technique to that level. Songwon stood up, stretched his somewhat stiff body, and decided to go out for a walk. After days of hard cultivation, he felt a bit bored and decided to get some fresh air. He headed directly to Zhao Dapeng's small courtyard. Songwon's courtyard should have been rented out. Knocking on the courtyard door, Songwon waited outside for a moment before Zhao Dapeng opened it. Songwon handed over 30 spirit stones and said, "This is the rent for 3 months." Zhao Dapeng nodded, did not say anything, and turned to close the door. Since discovering that Zhao Dapeng had used his own younger brother to refine a corpse, Songwon had suppressed his desire for revenge, wanting to see what Zhao Dapeng was up to. As a result, he had waited for over 2 months. The man with the rat-like eyes had been tortured by the corpse energy to the point of barely resembling a human, but he still miraculously had not died, a mortal being subjected to corpse energy for over 2 months neither died nor turned into a zombie. This was quite miraculous to Songwon, a practitioner of corpse techniques. A zombie that had not been thoroughly turned into a corpse was barely of any combat power in the cultivation world. This only increased Songwon's curiosity about what Zhao Dapeng was really doing. Another thing that puzzled Songwon was that Zhao Dapeng's practice of raising corpses was a severe taboo among righteous sects. How had he managed to avoid detection for 2 months? It was quite baffling. Or had someone already discovered it but chose not to reveal it? Or perhaps Zhao Dapeng's actions had the tacit approval of the Beastmaster sect. Driven by strong curiosity, Songwon had considered killing and searching the soul, but he had suppressed the idea. Zhao Dapeng rarely left the market, so killing a disciple of the Beastmaster sect in the market would not be wise. Moreover, Songwon wanted to see what kind of zombie Zhao Dapeng would eventually make out of his younger brother. After leaving Zhao Dapeng's house, Songwon wandered around the market and bought some medicinal herbs for alchemy. The beast refining pills he had obtained from the Hung couple had been used up a month and a half ago. Before that, Songwon had started preparing to make beast refining pills himself with his foundation establishment stage spiritual awareness. He met the requirements for refining 7th-tier pills. To make pills, he first needed to prepare the required medicinal herbs. Most of the herbs for refining beast refining pills were relatively common, but 2 of the 7th-tier herbs were hard to find. These 2 7th-tier herbs were not sold in the market's herb stores. However, occasionally a few plants were available at the scattered cultivators' stalls, though not enough to meet Songwen's needs. Later, Songwen solved this problem by going to the ghost market. Refining beast refining pills was more complex than refining blood chi pills, since Songwen did not dare to use demonic energy. Using longevity technique, spiritual energy made the process a bit weaker. He could only refine 1 batch at a time, which would deplete his spiritual energy, requiring him to meditate and recover. As a result, it took him 7 or 8 months to refine the first batch of beast refining pills. With the beast refining pills, he could quickly enhance the strength of the sacred goo. End of the chapter. Perks of joining my Patreon. Patreon.com/CinderTL. Read RDC ahead. Currently up to daily updates of 2 chapters, mass releases, 2 other stories to read, more coming in future. Support my hard work and show some appreciation. Become a paid member for as low as $1. Your support is my motivation, and please leave some reviews. It only takes a few minutes. Chapter 187. After purchasing the necessary items in the market, Songwon walked into the small alley where his own courtyard was located and saw Ai Kun standing outside his courtyard door. Hurrying over, Songwon quickly reached Ai Kun and asked, "Senior Ai, are you waiting for me?" In the past 2 years, Ai Kun had been indulging without restraint, which had left him increasingly frail. He no longer had the vitality expected of a cultivator and looked more like a common elderly person. Worn out and sagging, with a stooped posture, Songwon opened the courtyard door and led Ai Kun into the courtyard, where they sat down. Ai Kun said, "I'm leaving the market. I came to say goodbye." Songwon was surprised and asked, "Why the sudden decision to leave the market?" Ai Kun sighed, expressing regret. "My health has deteriorated even further these past 2 years. I find drawing talismans increasingly difficult, and I'm no longer suited to stay in the market. It's time for me to find a place to retire. It's also my own fault. I couldn't resist the temptation of the concubines of the Hahuan sect, which severely depleted my energy. You are still young and have a chance to break through to the foundation establishment stage. Don't follow my path, getting lost in desires and wasting your time." Looking back, I was once full of ambition and held a place among the scattered cultivator talismans in the market. I don't know when it started, but I fell into indulgence and couldn't extricate myself. My cultivation stagnated. Reflecting on the past, it really is lamentable. Watching Ai Kun's deep emotions, Songwon did not interrupt and quietly listened. This was the only thing he could do for the old man at the moment. However, he couldn't help but think, when strong and powerful, it was the Hahuan sect's fairy. When weak and frail, it became the Hahuan sect's seductress. People are indeed very changeable. After Ai Kun finished his reflections, Songwon finally spoke. "Senior Ai, where do you plan to retire?" Ai Kun said, "When I was young, I had a close friend from the Su family of Qingping Mountain. He had invited me several times to join the Su family as a talisman maker, but considering that the Su family's ancestor is a golden core expert, as a mid-stage chi cultivation talisman maker, I would not be valued in the Su family, so I declined. Recently, he invited me again to go to the Su family to teach their younger generation how to draw talismans. Given my current situation, it would be fortunate to retire in the Su family, so I agreed to my friend's invitation." Songwon said, "Then congratulations, Senior Ai." Ai Kun waved his hand. "You don't need to call me Senior Ai anymore. Your cultivation is no lower than mine. You're about to break through to the 7th level of chi cultivation, right?" Songwon shook his head. "It's not that easy to break through to the late stage of chi cultivation. I remember you were cultivating the longevity technique, right?" Ai Kun suddenly asked. Songwon nodded. He had previously inquired with Ai Kun about the cultivation techniques sold in the market and knew that the market had the foundation establishment technique for the longevity technique, which he learned from AI Kuan after learning that there was a foundation establishment technique for the longevity technique available. Songwon had immediately disguised himself and purchased a copy. The longevity technique has longevity benefits. It seems you will live longer than this old man. Songwon did not want to discuss techniques and cultivation levels further. He shifted the topic. When is senior AI leaving the market? I'll see you off. No need. As cultivators, we shouldn't be bound by mundane customs. AI Kuan stood up and left the small courtyard. 2 days later, AI Kuan, all alone, left East Huafeng Market where he had struggled for decades. Songwon continued to immerse himself in rigorous cultivation. When he wasn't refining pills, he was concocting elixirs. In just these past 2 years, he had spent over 80,000 spirit stones like flowing water. Feeding his 2 sacred gu alone consumed 100 spirit stones daily. This was with him refining the pills himself. If he had to buy the pills for cultivation, the cost would at least double or triple. 3 more months passed in a flash, and Songwen's longevity technique had reached the peak of qi refining, signaling that it was time for foundation establishment. Songwen dismantled the spirit concealment formation and the 9 palaces in array in the underground secret room of the neighboring courtyard. He then left the market and traveled several thousand miles south. Finding a remote valley devoid of spiritual energy, there he dug a cave and began his seclusion. 7 days later, having adjusted his mind, energy, and spirit to their peak state, Songwen held the foundation establishment pill in one hand and the heavenly spirit fruit in the other. After a moment's hesitation, he put away the foundation establishment pill and consumed the heavenly spirit fruit. Having used the heavenly spirit fruit for foundation establishment once before, Songwen decided to use it again, relying on his previous experience. A little over a month later, Songwen emerged from his temporary cave dwelling. This foundation establishment process had gone so smoothly that Songwen found it hard to believe. With just 1 heavenly spirit fruit, he successfully established his foundation. Songwen did not immediately leave the valley. After stretching and moving around a bit, he returned to the temporary cave. Before leaving the market, he had prepared a substantial amount of elixirs and spirit herbs for pill refining. He had sufficient blood qi pills for his cultivation and beast refining pills for his sacred gu. He planned to cultivate in this valley for a while, only returning to the market when he ran out of elixirs and spirit herbs. He stayed in the valley for 3 months, primarily cultivating various thunder techniques. He mastered the Polar God Thunder and Great Cave God Thunder from the 9 great heavenly thunders. Lei Tianyu's short spear had also been refined by him. This short spear was unique in that it could channel thunder techniques, giving it the sharpness of a spiritual weapon along with the power of thunder. It seemed to be a spiritual weapon custom-made by the Lei family for him. In addition to the thunder techniques, Songwen practiced Thunder Escape and Thunder Spear spells. Thunder Escape allowed the user to integrate thunder into their body, moving as quickly as lightning, useful both for short-range maneuvering in combat and long-distance travel. However, it consumed a significant amount of spiritual power, making it unsuitable for prolonged use and best reserved for critical situations. The Thunder Spear spell summoned 5 long thunder spears to be thrown at the opponent. During these 3 months, Songwen realized that the blood qi pills were no longer as effective in advancing his cultivation as they had been during the qi refining stage. For his recent pill refining attempts, he had used 500-year-old red blood vine, the highest grade ingredient available in the market, but the resulting pills still failed to meet his expectations in enhancing his cultivation. Songwen speculated that this was because blood qi pills were first-grade pills made from first-grade spiritual herbs. No matter how much they were improved, they could not significantly boost the cultivation of a foundation establishment cultivator. It seems I need to develop a second-grade pill similar to the blood qi pill, Songwen thought to himself as he took out Rong Jingyun's alchemy notes for a closer look. In the jade slip of notes, Songwen found a second-grade pill called the explosive blood pill. This pill was used to unleash potential, temporarily granting the user great strength. Consuming 1 pill could significantly enhance the cultivation of a foundation establishment cultivator for a short period. However, the pill had notable side effects, inducing a period of weakness after consumption and depleting vital energy. Repeated use could even harm the cultivation base, while the explosive blood pill differed from the blood qi pill, which permanently enhanced cultivation. Both consumed significant vital energy and posed long-term risks to the user's foundation. After brief contemplation, Songwen decided to obtain an explosive blood pill to test its effects. Author's note: P.S. Explanation of the second foundation establishment of the longevity technique. Many readers have been asking about this, so here's a detailed explanation. As mentioned in a previous chapter, the longevity technique in the Dantian are independent of each other, coexisting like the yin and yang of a Taiji diagram without interfering with each other. In the story's setting, foundation establishment involves condensing spiritual energy into liquid. A second foundation establishment is essentially the process of transforming the spiritual energy of the longevity technique into liquid form within the Dantian. End of the chapter. Perks of joining my Patreon, patreon.com/TL. Read RDC ahead, currently up to daily updates of 2 chapters, mass releases. 2 other stories to read, more coming in future. Support my hard work and show some appreciation. Become a paid member for as low as $1. Your support is my motivation, and please leave some reviews. It only takes a few minutes. Chapter 188. Songwon recalled the sacred gusts that were guarding the perimeter, put away the formations, collapsed the temporary cave dwelling, and flew towards the market on his boat. Before his foundation establishment, when he left the market, he had found Zhao Dapeng, paid half a year's rent, and informed him that he would be away for a while but wanted to keep the courtyard reserved. Perhaps because of Songwen's prior notice, the courtyard had not been rented out. When he returned, walking into the courtyard, he used wind spells to clean up the dust and fallen leaves. Then Songwen sat down on a chair in the courtyard to rest. Suddenly, a rapid knocking on the door startled Songwen. His eyes turned cold. Earlier, he had detected 3 unfamiliar individuals outside in the alley. He thought they were just passing by and paid them no mind. He didn't expect they were here to find him. Before Songwen could get up, the person outside impatiently kicked the courtyard door, causing the wooden door to splinter and crack. The leader of the 3 outside was a tall, muscular cultivator at the 9th level of Qi refining. The burly cultivator stepped into the small courtyard. Seeing Songwen sitting leisurely on the chair, he glared fiercely and shouted, "Are you Zhang Cheng?" Songwen frowned slightly. He did not know this person and had no grievances with him. The man's arrogance and commanding tone irritated Songwen. Songwen replied coldly, "Who are you, and why are you barging into my courtyard?" The burly cultivator took 2 steps forward, staring at Songwen, who was still sitting on the chair. A loose cultivator at the 6th level of Qi refining shouldn't ask so many questions. Just answer if you are Zhang Cheng. Songwen stood up from the chair, brushed off imaginary dust from his clothes, and looked calm. "It seems you are here to cause trouble. This is Huafeng Market, under the jurisdiction of the Beastmaster sect. You should think carefully, as the market's enforcement team is not far from here." The burly cultivator snorted disdainfully, his face full of contempt. "Using the enforcement team to pressure me? What a joke. Our Su family from Qingping Mountain taking away a loose cultivator at the Qi refining stage from the market. Do you think the Beastmaster sect would care?" Songwen frowned deeply. The Su family of Qingping Mountain. He had never had any dealings with this cultivation family. Why were they looking for him? Wait a minute. Ai Kuan had mentioned the Su family. Could this be related to him? While Songwen was pondering, the burly cultivator was also scrutinizing him. With a puzzled expression, the cultivator whispered, just loud enough for only Songwen and himself to hear, "Didn't they say you practice the longevity technique? Why don't I sense any of its aura from you? Do you have a way to conceal your aura? Then your actual cultivation should be more than the 6th level of Qi refining, right?" At this last sentence, a trace of imperceptible delight flashed across the burly cultivator's face. He waved to the 2 people behind him. "Capture him alive. If he resists, cripple him." With that, the 2 cultivators at the 8th level of Qi refining lunged at Songwen. Songwen watched the 2 attackers calmly. In his dantian, the cold moon blade trembled slightly, ready to strike. Since these so-called Su family members were courting death, Songwen would oblige them. However, the burly cultivator's kick that damaged the courtyard door had already attracted the attention of many neighbors who were now standing outside in the alley, watching. It seems that the identity of Talisman Master Zhang Cheng can no longer be used. Songwen thought to himself, killing these 3 would certainly expose his identity. Suddenly, he noticed 2 figures among the onlookers outside who stood out. They were members of the market's enforcement team. The Su family had the tacit approval of the enforcement team to capture him. Killing the 3 Su family members would be easy, and so would killing the 2 enforcement team members. But the enforcement team had emergency communication methods. Killing the Su family members would mean becoming an enemy of the enforcement team, leading to being surrounded by them. The enforcement team had many Foundation establishment cultivators and a golden core elder stationed in the market, suppressing his urge to kill. Songwen stood still, letting the 2 Su family cultivators approach him. "Can you tell me where you are taking me?" he asked, seeing Songwen not resisting. The burly cultivator said. You are quite sensible. He glanced at the watching loose cultivators behind him. Perhaps not wanting to tarnish the Sioux family's reputation, he raised his voice and explained loudly, Don't worry. Our Sioux family has no ill intentions towards you. We just noticed your talent in talisman making and want to invite you to join our family as a talisman master. Our Sioux family is eager to recruit talented individuals. This time, we have invited many loose cultivators. To show our respect, we have dispatched a large airship to transport you all. The airship is parked just over 10 miles east of the market. Song Wen's mouth twitched. He didn't believe a word of what the other party said. Who invites someone with such arrogance? He was just a talisman master who could only draw flying talismans and beginner-level talismans. Was he worth all this trouble from the Sioux family? However, after hearing what the other party said, Song Wen had a plan in mind. Since the airship was outside the market, he would make his move once they were out of the market, making it easier to escape. Seeing that Song Wen did not resist, the Sioux family members did not forcibly take him. The burly cultivator summoned a flying boat, lightly jumped onto it and called out, Bring him! The other two took Song Wen onto the flying boat. The flying boat ascended, quickly reaching a height of several hundred meters. At this moment, a chain appeared in the burly cultivator's hand. The chain moved like a snake and swiftly bound Song Wen. What are you doing? Song Wen struggled with all his might, but the chain did not budge. Song Wen's face was full of anger, and he glared at the burly cultivator with eyes full of rage. Looking just like someone who had been deceived but was powerless, the burly cultivator sneered at Song Wen with contempt. Idiot! After saying that, he no longer paid attention to Song Wen, focusing instead on piloting the flying boat towards the outskirts of the market. Moments later, the flying boat left the market from a distance. Song Wen saw a large ship over 50 meters long hovering in midair, more than 10 miles away from the market. A black flag with gold and silver embroidery, bearing a large Sioux character, hung from the ship's mast. As the flying boat drew closer, Song Wen pondered to himself, he couldn't board the ship. Such a large vessel would surely have many strong cultivators aboard. Being so close to the market, he dared not use corpse control techniques. Once aboard, it would be difficult to escape. After leaving the market by several miles, Song Wen suddenly mustered all his strength and gave a mighty struggle. The magical chain instantly shattered into pieces. The sound of the chain breaking alerted the three Sioux family members. Before they could react, a cold light flashed and disappeared. The three felt a sudden dizziness. When they looked at their decapitated bodies, they realized they had been beheaded. Zhang Chang was not just a loose cultivator at the Qi refining stage. He was a formidable foundation establishment cultivator. Then, everything went black as their consciousness faded. A flash of lightning surged from Song Wen's body, transforming into a humanoid bolt of lightning that shot directly into the dense forest below. The sudden change immediately caught the attention of those on the large ship. A mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator and two early-stage foundation establishment cultivators from the Sioux family flew out on their swords, pursuing Song Wen. Rushing through the dense forest, Song Wen continued to use the thunder escape technique, moving swiftly through the woods, avoiding the ship's location and heading away from the market. The speed of the thunder escape technique was rapid, and the three pursuers soon fell behind. Seeing that they couldn't catch up, the mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator from the Sioux family took out a sword-shaped jade slip and crushed it with all his might. A giant spiritual sword, dozens of meters long, appeared in midair. The Sioux family cultivator shouted, slash. The giant sword, like a dragon, sliced through the sky and clouds, descending rapidly towards Song Wen. Seeing the formidable giant sword above, Song Wen dared not take it head-on. The spiritual giant sword's power was equivalent to a full-strength attack from a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Electricity crackled around Song Wen as he changed direction, darting out diagonally. Boom. The giant sword struck the ground, causing the earth to tremble and rocks to fly, making a deafening noise. A wave of violent aftershocks spread in all directions, barely dodging the giant sword. Song Wen was enveloped in a green glow that protected him from the aftershocks, though the force propelled him forward. The commotion caused by the giant sword's strike was so loud that it could be heard clearly several miles away in the market, several miles away, in a cave mansion atop a small Mountain, a beautiful Taoist nun in her 40s, opened her eyes. Her eyes were bright and profound, like a deep, unfathomable lake. She was the golden core cultivator sent by the Beastmaster sect to guard Huafeng Market, TL. Finally, something is happening again. It's been quite tedious the past few chapters. End of the chapter. Perks of joining my Patreon, patreon.com/TL. Read RDC ahead, currently up to daily updates of 2 chapters, mass releases. 2 other stories to read, more coming in. Future, support my hard work and show some appreciation. Become a paid member for as low as $1. Your support is my motivation, and please leave some reviews. It only takes a few minutes. Chapter 189. A flash of a figure and the beautiful Taoist nun appeared in midair, immediately spotting the Su family's large ship and the 3 Foundation establishment cultivators. The Taoist nun flew forward, stopping in front of the 3 Su family cultivators, and asked sternly, "Why are you using such powerful spells near the market area? Don't you know you might accidentally kill innocent cultivators?" The 3 Su family cultivators felt a terrifying pressure descend upon them, their expressions turning panicked and speechless. However, after recognizing the beautiful Taoist nun, they visibly relaxed. The mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator leading the group cupped his hands and bowed. "I am Su Xingyuan from Qingping Mountain. Greetings, immortal Qingyan. We are chasing a villain who killed our Su family members. Even if you were chasing a murderer, you cannot recklessly use powerful spells outside the market. Please forgive us, immortal. The situation is urgent. This person was meant to be a live sacrifice for ancestor Su Qian. We didn't expect him to be hiding his cultivation and escape." Hearing this, immortal Qingyan's fierce aura dissipated and a spiritual soundproof barrier suddenly appeared, enclosing her and Su Xingyuan. Has Su Qian already comprehended the item brought back from the ancient secret realm longevity hall? Su Xingyuan replied, "I am not sure. After returning from exploring the secret realm with you and other Golden Core seniors over 10 years ago, Ancestor has been in seclusion. He only emerged from seclusion 3 months ago. Since then, he spent 2.5 months setting up a grand formation called the Devouring Soul Array. The Ancestor ordered our Su family to search for cultivators practicing the longevity technique, specifically targeting young and robust cultivators, with higher cultivation levels being better. Based on the information we gathered, the person who just escaped practices the longevity technique and is likely a late-stage qi refining cultivator. We didn't expect him to hide his cultivation and actually be a Foundation establishment cultivator, which allowed him to escape." Su Xingyuan quickly explained the whole story without any reservations, showing his considerable trust in immortal Qingyan. He glanced anxiously in the direction Songwen had fled. "Immortal, cultivators practicing the longevity technique and achieving Foundation establishment are extremely rare. This person is crucial for ancestor Su Qian. Could you help us?" Immortal Qingyan's voice was cold and stern. "Don't worry, he won't escape." As she spoke, her brows furrowed, deep in thought. Before her words faded, her figure had disappeared from the spot. Following Song Wen's lingering aura, she pursued him. TL, "Ah, such righteousness. For those wondering, don't worry, each debt shall be paid in full." Seeing that the Su family cultivators were not pursuing him, Songwen did not relax his vigilance and continued fleeing at full speed. Suddenly, a powerful pressure came from behind, like a mountain collapsing and the sea roaring. Songwen stumbled, almost falling. Barely stabilizing himself, Songwen's face changed dramatically. A Golden Core cultivator. He had been trying to avoid the Beastmaster sect's Golden Core cultivator since arriving at Huafeng Market. He didn't expect to encounter one today. The Golden Core cultivator behind him was in peak condition, far stronger than the severely injured Wuren he had faced before. "Boy, surrender now and I might spare your life." Immortal Qingyan's voice, spanning more than 10 miles, exploded in Songwen's ears. Songwen naturally couldn't surrender just because of the opponent's strength. While using the Thunder Escape technique, he discerned his direction in this life-and-death crisis. He couldn't afford to panic. As long as he found the right terrain, Songwen was confident he could escape. One pursuing, one fleeing, the distance between them rapidly closed. When the distance was less than 8 miles, Immortal Qingyan's spiritual sense locked onto Songwen, and she shouted, "Take this." A long rope flew from her hand, shooting towards Songwen like a viper. Seeing this long rope, it was clear it was a treasure designed to trap enemies. Songwen dared not let it entangle him. With a thought, the Kuei-in shield appeared behind him, followed by a bronze bell enveloping his entire body. Boom. The rope head struck the Kuei-in shield, which quickly deformed like clothing prodded by a stick. The water screen transformed by the Kuei-in shield was carried by the rope head, colliding with the bronze bell. The bronze bell shattered instantly. Songwon immediately felt a strong force hitting his back, blood filled his mouth, and he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood at high speed. He was knocked flying. A hint of surprise flashed in Immortal Qingyan's eyes. For a mere early foundation establishment cultivator to evade the binding of the spirit-binding rope was unexpected, but it didn't matter. She could try again, with a thought. The spirit-binding rope shed the heavy water of Kuei-in enveloping it and once again flew towards Songwon. The next moment, her previously confident expression turned into astonishment. Songwon raised his left hand, flashing with lightning, and struck his own head heavily. Boom! His head exploded and his body fell to the ground. What's going on? Did he just commit suicide? Immortal Qingyan was full of disbelief, but she quickly noticed something unusual. The fallen body was just a corpse that had been dead for some time, not a freshly deceased body, a substitute corpse technique. Immortal Qingyan's eyes filled with excitement. Originally, she was just doing Su Qian a favor by capturing a live sacrifice. Unexpectedly, there was an added surprise. If she could obtain the substitute corpse technique from this person, it would be an additional life-saving card. Her spiritual sense quickly swept the surroundings, but to her surprise, she couldn't find the person with her early golden core stage spiritual sense. That person had used the substitute corpse technique to escape her spiritual sense's range. How is that possible? Immortal Qingyan couldn't believe it. Although she had never practiced the substitute corpse technique herself, she had heard of this miraculous escape method. The substitute corpse technique's range of escape should only be within the coverage of her spiritual sense. How could a mere early foundation establishment cultivator have a spiritual sense stronger than her golden core stage spiritual sense? After a while, not finding any trace of Songwon, Immortal Qingyan summoned the heavy water of Kuei-in left by Songwon into her hand. The heavy water of Kuei-in had been refined by Songwon, and it carried his spiritual aura. Following this aura to find Songwon would not be difficult, though it would take some time. 10 miles away, on the back of a small hill, Songwon's figure suddenly appeared, wiping away the blood from the corner of his mouth. Songwon looked up, his eyes coldly staring at the graceful figure in the air. He had used the substitute corpse technique many times before, but it was always under the threat of fatal attacks. This was the first time he had chosen to use it by striking himself fatally when driven to the brink of despair. The feeling of delivering a fatal blow to himself was extremely unpleasant. He still had lingering fear. No matter who you are, one day I will make you pay, Songwon vowed silently in his heart. Seeing that the opponent couldn't find him for the time being, Songwon felt slightly at ease. Using the sacred goo, Songwon's spiritual sense could probe up to 15 miles. While an early golden core stage cultivator's sensing distance was only 8 miles, taking out a healing pill, he swallowed it. This place was not safe for long. Not daring to stay, Songwon carefully determined the direction and then sprinted towards the nearby forest. His movement immediately startled the birds and beasts in the forest. From high in the sky, Immortal Qingyan saw the scene and slightly moved her lips. Found you. Her figure turned into an afterimage, swiftly heading towards Songwon. Once Songwon entered her sensing range, she used the same trick again, sending out the spirit-binding rope. Feeling the spirit-binding rope getting closer, Songwon's face grew anxious. He frantically urged the thunder escape technique, his figure constantly darting through the forest. End of the chapter. Perks of joining my Patreon, patreon.com/cindertl. Read RDC ahead, currently up to daily updates of 2 chapters mass releases, 2 other stories, 1000. Support my hard work and show some appreciation. Become a paid member for as low as $1. Your support is my motivation, and please leave some reviews. It only takes a few minutes. Chapter 190. When the spirit-binding rope was less than 10 meters away from Songwon, instead of being afraid, he smiled. The distance was sufficient. His figure suddenly turned into a cloud of blood mist. Under Immortal Qingyan's astonished gaze, the spirit-binding rope passed through the blood mist and wrapped around a large tree ahead. Blood escape technique. The corpse demon sex blood escape technique. Where did he learn this? Immortal Qingyan was full of disbelief. A mere early foundation establishment cultivator had mastered the thunder escape technique, the blood escape technique, and the substitute corpse technique. Moreover, how could a foundation establishment cultivator activate the blood escape technique, which was a life-saving secret technique for golden core cultivators? Her face was full of greed and excitement. This person had too many secrets. Capturing him would yield great benefits. She took out the heavy water of Kuei-in, preparing to use a secret method to locate Songwon, but the next moment, her expression turned ugly. The spiritual aura on the heavy water of Kuei-in had dissipated, turning it into an ownerless item. Songwon had actively severed his connection with the heavy water of Kuei-in, 80 miles away. At the bottom of the Tianhe River, Song Wen's sea of consciousness throbbed with intense pain. Severing his connection with the heavy water of Kuei-in was not pleasant. He felt fortunate that he had always paid close attention to the terrain around the market, memorizing the landscape within 1,000 miles, allowing him to accurately judge his approximate location at all times. Just now he used the blood escape technique to directly reach the banks of the Tianhe River, then plunged into its flowing waters. He only had enough vital blood for one use of the blood escape technique, so he had to seize this opportunity to completely escape from immortal Qingyan. Feeling the severe depletion of his vital blood, Song Wen took out a jade bottle filled with vital blood and poured bottle after bottle into his mouth. After consuming 10 bottles, his vital blood was replenished. Flashes of the large Su character on the airship and immortal Qingyan's beautiful face appeared in his mind, making him clench his teeth. One day, I will make you pay. He concealed all his aura, letting the river currents carry him downstream. Su Xingyuan flew to immortal Qingyan's side and asked cautiously, "Immortal, that villain?" Immortal Qingyan had already scouted the area within a few dozen miles but still found no trace of Song Wen. Her mood was foul, and she responded irritably, "He escaped." The secret techniques on Song Wen greatly tempted her. She had been so close to capturing a great opportunity only to lose it. She was very unwilling and showed no kindness to Su Xingyuan. Seeing immortal Qingyan's displeasure, Su Xingyuan did not dare to ask further, creating a tense silence. After a moment, immortal Qingyan coldly asked, "How many people know about your patriarch's comprehension of the devouring soul array?" Su Xingyuan replied, "Immortal, only the patriarch and a few core members of our Su family know. No one else is aware. Informing you about this was by the patriarch's prior instructions. The patriarch said that you and he are close friends who trust each other, and the activation of the devouring soul array depends on you. He instructed us to inform you when we met you." Immortal Qingyan nodded and replied, "This matter must not be disclosed, or your Su family could face disaster. As for the person who escaped, let it be. Many rogue cultivators practice the longevity technique. Choose some strong ones as sacrifices. The results should be similar." Su Xingyuan bowed, understood. But he couldn't help but secretly complain in his heart, "It's easy for you to say. While there are many rogue cultivators practicing the longevity technique, most of them are in the early to middle stages of qi refinement. Few reach the late stages. And those who do usually get there through long periods of cultivation. These cultivators are generally older and no longer suitable as live sacrifices. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone through such trouble to capture Song Wen, who is suspected to be a robust rogue cultivator at the late stage of qi refinement." Song Wen spent an entire day at the bottom of the river, drifting 200 to 300 miles downstream. Only then did he find a concealed cave at the river bottom, where he spent several days treating his internal injuries and recovering his spiritual energy before emerging from the water after drying off. Song Wen disguised himself as a middle-aged cultivator in his 40s and rowed a boat towards the ghost market in the mountain valley. That night, around the second watch, Song Wen entered a small shop within the ghost market. Behind the counter sat an old man who seemed half asleep. The old man perked up upon seeing Song Wen and greeted him loudly, "Customer, what kind of information are you looking for?" This shop specialized in selling information within the ghost market. "Do you have any information on the Su family of Qingping Mountain? The more detailed, the better." The old man's wrinkled face broke into a smile. He knew a big customer had arrived. "Information on the Su family is naturally available, but the price." Seeing the old man's hesitant expression, Song Wen realized he was trying to extort a higher price and cut straight to the point. "How many spirit stones? Just tell me directly." 10,000 spirit stones, including detailed information on all late-stage qi refinement and foundation establishment members of the Su family. "Agreed. But can you provide a portion of the information for me to verify first?" The old man's eyes lit up at Song Wen's lack of bargaining. "Of course." With that, he produced a jade slip and handed it to Song Wen. Song Wen took the jade slip and examined it with his spiritual sense. The jade slip contained detailed information on dozens of the Su family's late-stage qi refinement cultivators, including their names, cultivation levels, and family members. Satisfied with the information, Song Wen produced a storage pouch and handed it over. The old man checked the contents to ensure there were no issues with the spirit stones, then handed Song Wen another jade slip. This jade slip contained even more detailed information, including key members of the Su family and the distribution of their properties. After obtaining the information, Song Wen turned and left. According to the jade slip, the Su family had an early golden core patriarch named Su Qian, but he was very old, nearing the end of his lifespan, and hadn't appeared in public for many years. The Su family had a total of 48 foundation establishment cultivators, including 2 at the peak of foundation establishment, the family head Su Anqing and the great elder Su Wenshi. There were 7 late-stage foundation establishment cultivators, more than 10 mid-stage foundation establishment cultivators, and 23 early-stage foundation establishment cultivators, a nearly deceased early Golden Core patriarch and 40-something foundation establishment cultivators. This Qingping Mountain Su family didn't seem too formidable, as long as he wasn't trapped by formations or some special magic treasures. Song Wen was confident that he could escape even if surrounded by the Su family. With a flicker of killing intent in his eyes, Song Wen left the ghost market and headed northwest on his boat. 1,000 miles to the northwest, amidst a vast mountain range, a small market spanning several miles lay within. This was the northern market, under the jurisdiction of the Su family. 50 miles east of the market lay the Su family's residence at Qingping Mountain, disguised as an elderly cultivator at the 4th level of Qi refinement. Song Wen had been in this area for several days during this time. He stayed at a random inn for cultivators at night and scouted the market and surrounding areas during the day, becoming thoroughly familiar with the terrain that day. After having breakfast at the inn, he was strolling through the market when he encountered an unexpected person. AI Kuan. End of the chapter. Perks of joining my Patreon, patreon.com/TL. Read RDC ahead. Currently up to daily updates of 2 chapters, mass releases, 2 other stories, 1,000. Support my hard work and show some appreciation. Become a paid member for as low as $1. Your support is my motivation, and please leave some reviews. It only takes a few minutes.